Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, you know, the CNN town hall backfired on Democrats and backfired when even notorious anti-Trump people are walking away saying that Donald Trump won and won big. Here's a couple examples. Andrew Yang writes, "This hashtag CNN town hall is shaping up to be a clear win for Trump, certainly in the Republican field and probably overall." Here's a Lincoln Project goon venting his frustration as well, claiming it's now inevitable that Donald Trump is going to win the nomination.
This insanity should be pulled off the air. Chris Licht, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is astoundingly bad for the brand of CNN. It's astoundingly bad for the country. And it's astoundingly bad, honestly, folks, for every other Republican candidate in the primaries. Wrap that up. It's done. You saw this tonight. You know you can't beat him on the stage. Everybody else, oars up. Time to go to work, because he's going to be the nominee.
Anti-Trump Ben Shapiro agrees. CNN did Trump a massive favor. Ben Shapiro argues the, quote, bias moderator helped Donald Trump and warns that CNN wants to renominate him. And that right there is the topic of today's video. CNN, but more specifically, Caitlin Collins. Holy moly, did she ever find out. The purpose of these town halls is to get to know the candidate. Donald Trump shows up on stage, says what he has to say, and the moderator should theoretically be neutral, should be asking questions, trying to find exactly what it is that the person they're interviewing is saying. You know, honestly trying to understand their perspective and allowing them to bring an argument and maybe present facts and evidence or a different perspective to the audience and let the audience make up their mind. Well, in the modern day, as journalism has become some sort of an abomination, there's a very different dynamic at play. Well, of course, only when dealing with Trump-style Republicans. The moderator, the host, the journalist, whatever you want to call him, views it as their responsibility to debate, argue, and lifetime, quote, fact-check Donald Trump at every frickin' point and turn, not allowing him to finish a damn sentence. And boy, did that backfire big with Caitlin Collins. Let's get into that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, Caitlin Collins was just awful.
We're at a point now, we're getting so close. Let's just win it again and straighten out our country.
One other question on this.
You're not stupid at all, but you perhaps are given an agenda, or you have an agenda. We'll give you soldiers, we'll give you National Guard, we'll give you whatever you want. And they turned me down.
You're
and in
acting
fact, she
defense
turned me down.
secretary.
She turned me down. I didn't have a script. I don't need scripts like a certain person that's in there right now.
The video, it came out much later after they had already attacked the Capitol. But that video that you referenced there, it wasn't posted until 4:17 p.m.
No, I'll tell you.
They breached the Capitol at 2 p.m.
That video was posted
4:17
yeah,
p.m.
actually a little bit before that.
Chris Miller was your acting defense secretary. He says you never gave that order. But back to what happened on that day. You said you weren't.
He did not say that.
He has testified that, Mr. President.
He did not say that.
But you said you weren't very. Why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. Did they change the law then, saying that you can't do it?
They didn't change the law. They strengthened the law because they were worried about presidents exploiting.
They strengthened it, meaning you could do it.
That's not what it means.
Thank you.
They strengthened.
In Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot. Just like in New York City, you can't get a fair trial either. This is a fake story, and you don't want to give it credibility. That's why I didn't go.
One thing you did do in this.
I have no idea who the hell. She's a
Mr.
whack
President,
job.
you did not testify in
I took the documents I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them.
Obama
Reagan
did not
took
take
them.
documents.
Oh, he didn't?
The difference here that I'd like
Take
to
a
know.
look. But you know who took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes, and nobody even knows where they are. 1,800, and nobody talks about him.
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you. Why is it that Biden had 9 boxes in Chinatown, and he gets a lot of money from China? Why is that? And why aren't people?
Mr. President, no, you cannot
why
say
aren't
that.
people
There is no
bringing that
evidence
up?
of that, Mr. President. The one that's
She doesn't
happening
understand
in
it.
Georgia, where they are investigating there your efforts to overturn.
Now, it shows specific highlights from a little supercut that I found online, and unfortunately, some of the best parts, and really a topic that I'd like to get into in further detail, we just simply can't really get into because it's against the rules on YouTube. But outside of that, I think the clips that I just presented there showed the overall demeanor. You know, as a viewer, you turn on CNN, you watch the town hall, because you're interested in what Donald Trump has to say, not what Caitlin Collins had to say. But it seemed as though from her perspective, she wanted the spotlight on her. She wanted to be the star of the show, taking on Donald Trump. It's not a frickin' debate. You're not a presidential candidate. Your job is to literally shut up, listen, and maybe pry a little bit further, maybe poke and figure out, well, Mr. President or Mr. Former President, what is it that you mean when you say that? Not, oh, this is an outright false statement. Oh, fact check, fact check. Especially when all of your fact checks are totally subjective and not proven. Oh, well, people say, fact checkers have said that this statement is false, therefore it's false. Yeah, that's not how it works in history. A lot of people have been accused of being wrong, but as time goes by, let's just say the record clears. What CNN is doing isn't fact-checking Donald Trump. In my view, they're promoting opposing opinion and pretending that it's journalism. Oh, we're just being ethical and getting the facts straight. No, if you were being ethical and trying to get the facts straight, you would be asking questions based on his statements, trying to get to the bottom of them, being respectful of his positions, rather than outright disregarding them, constantly interjecting him and interrupting him in attempts to promote your narrative. I mean, just from the earlier clip that you saw from the mashup, Trump claimed that Biden had documents stashed in Chinatown. Caitlin Collins says, that's not true. But actually, it is, or at least it might be. Biden aide Kathy Chung refutes classified docs locked closet spin. Today we learned that when Joe Biden left the vice presidency, boxes containing classified documents, vice presidential records, and other items were stored in 3 different locations in Washington, D.C., including an office near the White House, an office in Chinatown, and eventually the Penn Biden Center. Oh, that's not true, Mr. Trump. I mean, no wonder Trump was getting so frustrated.
I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely left group of people. Extremely left. And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
they're
they
bipartisan.
raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return
Are you
them.
ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you...
He was totally justified in his response. She was objectively acting like a nasty person, not letting him speak, constantly trying to interject. Then as the town hall finished, the rest of these CNN goons started to chime in. I mean, take a look at this totally non-biased, very fair, neutral journalism.
The former president, Donald Trump, had a lot to say tonight. Many of the things he said, of course, were abjectly false, a torrent of falsehoods even from the get-go.
A torrent of falsehoods. Just completely absurd, following the town hall with a fact-check session. The only fact-check that I'm interested in was this one.
Back to what happened on that day.
He
You said
did
you
not
weren't...
say that.
He has testified that, Mr.
He did
President.
not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about
True,
that
of
speech
course.
that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on.
Probably one of the most epic moments in mainstream news town hall event history. They just looked absolutely terrible, mainly due to Caitlin Collins' performance and Jake Tapper's ridiculous after party. And it's very clearly because they're simply dishonest, but even beyond that, they're just kind of weird and cringe. They're just not slick about their bias. It shows and everyone can see it. Actually, here's the perfect example. I'm seeing a lot of leftoids and even some neocons ones, attacking Donald Trump, claiming he's in the past, he's stuck in the past, and not offering a vision moving forward. But even CNN got BTFO'd on that point during the town hall itself, or right after, during the after show, by a member in their focus group.
Does it bother you that he keeps talking about 2020 and not 2024? I'll ask you first. This is Jonathan Leslie. He's 40, Republican, voted for Trump twice. How do you feel about those lies?
So I feel like part of it's also the media narrative, as you guys asked him the first question at the town hall about the 2020 election, rather than current stuff.
So don't you think he could say it's time for me to start talking about 2024 and not lies that aren't true?
Couldn't the media ask him a question about 2024?
Well, there were questions, but you're right, that was the first thing, but that's something that was on our mind. And that's why I was asked first. Mike McGlaughlin.
Now, I can't really get into what they're talking about thanks to the rules on the platform, but you can tell the bias. How do you feel about those lies? Why can't he get over the past? And the response was pretty much perfect. It's literally the first question you asked him. All you did was ask him narrative-driven questions and attempt to fact-check him for an hour and 10 minutes straight. People can simply see right through CNN's nonsense. They aren't fooling anyone except for the Blue Anon crowd, who you don't even really need to fool. They're already fools. The fact is, CNN wanted to stick on all of those topics, all of the Democrat narrative topics, instead of delving into anything actually relevant to the American people. Oh, and speaking of all these bogus fact checks, I just came across this clip with Florida Representative Byron Donalds, clearing the record on another bogus fact check from the night. So let's just end the video with this epic clip from Byron Donalds, because it pretty much speaks for itself, and that's the video.
We spent 22, 23 minutes talking about January 6th. We could have been talking about a whole lot of other issues instead of doing that for the first half hour or so. But let me be very clear. What was said in this town hall about National Guard troops that were authorized by Caitlin was wrong. I'm on the Oversight Committee. I was in 2 hearings on January 6th. It was testified in oversight that Donald Trump authorized National Guard troops on January 4. He followed up in a call with then acting Secretary of Defense on January 5, trying to see where the deployment was on those troops. That is testimony in the Oversight Committee. Everybody testified in Oversight Committee when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House, except one organization, and that was the Capitol Police.
Did you read the
because
Secretary
Nancy
of Defense's
Pelosi would
book?
not allow that. I'm telling you what was testified to in the Oversight Committee under oath.
Let me just.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.